Omni, you're telling me, bro. Also, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it's crazy thinking about how it's been a year. Just for the show. I mean, we're at like a year and 2 months now, or something like that. It's cool. Like, it's cool thinking about how much the community's grown. We were wondering if people were even going to like be consistent and show up, or if this is even going to be worth it. We've kind of like hit a little bit of a plateau, but we're still going up. It's cool. The growth is still there. It's a little slow, but that's the way it goes. My understanding of how this shit works on like Twitch and whatnot is that you just keep going, and then eventually something might happen and you just get really big. So I believe, and I hope that you guys agree, that the stream is entertaining enough to keep you guys coming back, and we want to keep that going. As I think about that, I really want to know if like Ninja Gaiden is not what you guys are looking for on Thursdays. We can absolutely change it up. I'm almost done with the game, so we're going to change it up next week anyway. So I think the goal for tomorrow is to really crank through Ninja Gaiden, finish it, and then move on to something else. Looking at numbers and stuff, it's been up and down with that stream. But it's totally okay. I think the best ones we've had, so like if we think back on it, Ultra Kill did really well. We were getting a lot of people coming in, but that's because of the Ultra Kill community, and they really, really like seeing people play the game blind. And those players, or those viewers aren't going to come back if we're not playing Ultra Kill. That's sort of the plight of a variety streamer, and that's kind of what we are anyway, is variety stream with a focus on software and game dev and Unreal development. So if anyone is not interested in that and they see us for something else, they're probably not going to stick around. That's why, like, all you guys who appreciate the Tuesday or the Wednesday streams are here more often, is because that's the majority of our content. So you guys are the core of the community. We really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much for hanging out. So video games news this week is somewhat interesting. We've got a little bit of stuff to talk about, which I think is pretty fun. Tony, I want to throw this out there. I don't know if you heard about this, but Niantic, the Pokemon Go guys, they just got bought by the Monopoly Go studio, who is owned by Scopely, and they got bought for $3.5 billion. So if you were a Pokemon Go player, you might expect some changes to what you've been doing.
I believe what also happened is that the Pokemon Go wing of Niantic is what was sold to Monopoly Go, like you're talking about. But Niantic also, kind of behind the scenes while they were building Pokemon Go, and they also had another thing that before Pokemon Go that was kind of the same thing without Pokemon, but they've developed some of the best like geospatial AR technology in the world through developing these apps and these games. And they split their business up, and they sold the game part to the Monopoly Go people, and then they sold the other part that has this crazy impressive technology to I don't even remember. It was like,
let me see if I can find that in this article.
The Saudi game development company, the Embracer Group, I think, potentially
Aramco or some shit.
Yeah,
I think Embracer Group is
I
like
saw the headline
European.
this morning. I meant to put it in our list, and I did not do that. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's interesting, because that was probably the more lucrative half of the deal, I would imagine. So.
Yeah, for sure. And trying to figure out like what to do with that tech. I mean, in similar news, Netflix's game division, the guy who like was running it, they pivoted over to AI stuff, and he's gone. He left in November to go work on AI, and he just announced that he's gone. So looks like Netflix is completely stepping out of the games arena, which I think is fine, because if you go look at Netflix and like what they were doing, there's nothing really interesting. It was really weird. They did like a trivia game that was kind of okay, but if you play it like 3 times, you start seeing the same questions again. So it wasn't very deep. Really weird. So I don't know what they were doing, but they spent a ton of money trying to make Netflix a gaming platform too. Yo, what's up, Simple Sins? No, so we tried. I should actually try again. But since the last, I want to say like a patch or two ago, Tarkov was running really poorly, and I couldn't get good frame rate on stream. So it was crazy. We don't know what was going on with it, but it was like one patch and it was different, and it was just really unperformant. But tomorrow is usually when we play games. Today is when we talk about the industry, and we do game dev and talk about Unreal. So Tony has been working on this procedurally generated stuff. You don't have to switch, Tony. We're doing news right now, so it's all good. Yeah, Tony's been procedurally generating a like a rave venue, kind of inspired by the Drum Sheds. What is that, like a YouTube channel? Record label?
It's a venue in the UK, or like a club.
Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, we were just talking about how Pokemon Go and Niantic was acquired by Scopely for $3.5 billion. That was kind of the big news here. In similar news, the Netflix gaming division is basically entirely shut down now. So that was like a 5-year, probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that Netflix kind of like shoveled into a furnace. That's gone. In similar like sort of crash out or like fears in the gaming industry, Pocket Pair, because of the success of Pal World, they were saying that they're now in publishing, and their first statement is our games might not be good. So that's not good. I wouldn't like, they're almost self-reporting there. They're saying like, I don't know, guys. We're publishing some new stuff, but it's not going to be like Power World, so I hope you like it.
Everybody just thought we want to remind everybody about bucket of USBs before we start publishing games. Everybody have a bucket of USBs in your brain when we publish a game, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, I want to switch over to some.
I have the Niantic thing up real quick.
Oh yeah, go for it.
We just want to like wrap that up here. But so it says that they sold. There's dollar numbers in here that I thought are interesting. So first, for Niantic Inc., we have reached an agreement for Scopely, a world leader in mobile games, to acquire Pokemon Go, Pikmin Bloom, Monster Hunter Now, and the incredible teams working on these experiences for $3.5 billion from Scopely, with an additional $350 million of cash from Niantic being distributed as part of the deal, building a total value of approximately $3.85 billion for Niantic equity holders. Goes into talk about Scopely, blah, blah, blah. This part down here is so... Secondly, we're spinning off our pioneering geospatial AI business into a new company, Niantic Spatial Inc., enabling it to accelerate and scale even more rapidly. Led by John Hankey, it will be funded with $250 million of capital, including $200 million from Niantic's balance sheet and a $50 million investment from Scopely. So Scopely must be the one that ties to the Saudi government that everybody's mad about or something, but yeah, it looks like they make a lot of games that are kind of like this anyway, so I don't know.
I think I was touching on that a little bit last week or the week before, but it's sort of an endemic problem in the... Yo, what's up, Turning Cog? What's up, Acid Hex? But before I go back off into that...
More like a press release, but yeah, for sure.
I forgot. Omni said, I hear that story a lot. Persistence pays, and then a year or two or whatever it takes, you just take off with views. Yeah, exactly. It's more about consistency. I think a really good example is Northern Lion. He's the biggest streamer right now. And that happened for him after several years. Like, he built a community. It was just slow growth. He had a huge spike a couple years ago, and then it petered out, and he kind of dropped back down to normal levels. And then literally,
it's been like 6 days a week since like 2012 or something, though.
Yeah. And then this year, he switched to kind of what we've been doing, which is just affirming of we're doing the right thing, of consistent, specific day and time for a certain block, and he just does his stream and balances work life instead of doing all day every day streams. He does like a 4-hour stream twice a week or something like that now, and he's huge. He'll
Might be
pull
like a
like
4-hour stream every day, but he just
Yeah,
talked about it being very
either way,
intentional and planned. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got like I've watched him pull like 15,000 people on Twitch when he's playing Trick Shot Simulator on the same challenge for 5 hours straight. So like that's sick.
He started his YouTube video yesterday saying that he has 43 hours in Trick Shot Simulator, and he has streamed every second of them.
Yep. I think it's brilliant. I think it's very cool. Let's see. We got Turning Cog. I don't know what you're trying to say. OG, because these nerds are reading a white paper. Yeah. We do that shit. Simple Sin says Dungeonborn Crash and Burn new legacy fantasy extraction game is out for $30 in early access. Supposed to be hot garbage too. Yeah, is that Dark and Darker or is this legacy fantasy? I don't know. I don't know what that one is. I want to see co-op Battletoads tomorrow. Okay, Strava. Once you build the base, you can coast. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Adder? Yo, it's so great seeing you guys. I love seeing you guys on Tuesdays. It makes me very happy.
What Simple Sins is talking about is it says Dungeonborn, the game that once looked to set to compete with Dark and Darker on the fantasy hack and slash extraction game front is throwing in the towel. Developer Mithro Interactive announced today that new account registrations and in-game purchases will be halted on February 28th, and the game itself will go dark on May 28th. And it looks like, you know, PC Gamer's first look was in February 2024, so it did not last very long.
Damn, that's quick. Yeah. So that's the danger if you're making
early access in July 2024.
Oh, okay. So it was basically open for about a year, and they were trying to build a user base, and it just didn't work out.
The peak concurrent player when it came out was 39,000 people, but then those numbers quickly tanked, and as recorded by SteamDB, its peak concurrent player count over the past 24 hours is 22 people.
Adder with the shots fired at Concord. Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about Concord is that one of our community members, Artificial Sky, he's a big, you know, internet gamer troll kind of a guy, but he bought the PS5 Concord like collector's edition controller. Doesn't even own a PS5, but he got it just for the memes. We were playing Monster Hunter. He's like, yo, check this out. He's playing Monster Hunter on the Concord controller. So good. Yo, well, yeah, why are we talking Battletoads? Is that like a thing? I'm not up on the Battletoads news. I feel like there was an announcement that they were doing a
they made new Battletoads, right? Is that out now?
That's what they're Stravis saying he wants to see tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw that. No, there's one that came out on August 20th, 2020 that I see on Steam, but that's it.
People used to call GameStop and ask for
Battletoads. Talking about OG like NES Battletoads too. That's fucking impossible.
Yeah. Battletoads was really dope. I loved that game back in the day.
Actually, speaking of impossible old games, I was reading about how in Japan renting games has never really been a thing, and like because of their laws, it's technically illegal to rent games out to people, and because of that, games were made harder before they were ported over to the United States because we had a very big rental culture, and the thought process was that you could get somebody to rent the game twice if it was too hard to beat the first time. And so that's why we have infamously hard Ninja Gaiden and Battletoads and Contra and, you know, all these games on the NES that are just you know, super famous for being like the hardest games ever made. They're apparently much easier in the Japanese version because you could not ever rent them in Japan. You were paying full price for them every time you played them. So
interesting. So it was kind of like the coin arcade model of
similar
like,
to the arcade model for sure. Yep.
Very cool. I know what you guys are talking about now that Acid Hex said, yeah, do you have that game? It's about like space frogs. Yeah, I remember that shit. Toe Jam and Earl, dude. I always like wanted to enjoy Toe Jam and Earl as a kid, and I don't think I ever did. That's why Contra was impossible. Legit tried to 100% Contra, but it just wasn't happening. Yeah, dude. I remember I played the first level of Contra probably like 5,000 times as a kid. Okay, so in positive game news, I'm very excited about this. You guys have heard me, bloviate about Hideo Kojima many, many times, but the Death Stranding 2 trailer came out yesterday. It's incredible. Furthermore, we got a release date announced in June for Death Stranding 2, so I'm very excited for that. I really love the first game, and I get the fact that like Death Stranding's not for everybody. It is definitely, I think it's valid to say that it's a walking simulator, and people who have criticisms around that kind of gameplay, I get that. That's actually what I like about it. I know that this is something of a pretentious take, but I kind of feel like Death Stranding is a game for people who are like really into games or make games. So it's kind of art, like an art house film or something like that, or like Spangle music for musicians, stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's for everyone, and I wouldn't say everyone needs to go buy Death Stranding just to play it and have this special experience. I think I was talking to I was in Brightside's chat last night, and I was kind of thinking about what I even like about it and what's interesting. And as I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter, I'm starting to feel fatigue for the game loop, which is go kill monster, get parts, build new thing. So a lot of the like gameplay satisfaction or like the dopamine hits you get come at the end of the task when you've slain the monster and you get your parts. That really kind of wears me out psychologically, and that's fine. That's what games are like. But I think what made me so excited about when I think about like my behavioral mechanisms about playing Death Stranding and why it stuck with me so hard is that it's never completing a task that is interesting in Death Stranding. You always remember the journey. So for me, I understand that this is something of a pretentious take, but I think it's the journey that is more fulfilling. And it's almost like a Wes Anderson film, where it's not really great when you're watching it, but as you think back about it, you're like, oh, this is fun. I remember that one moment in that one scene of Royal Tenenbaums. Yeah, that shit was hilarious. But you're not like really laughing during the movie because there's a lot to process and go through. So anyway, I'm very excited for it. We want to show the trailer, but I'm going to catch up on chat real quick. Another game with a crying baby. Kojima's wilding out here. Yeah, absolutely. We've got Norman Fetus making a return, but now it's Norman Toddler. So I'm very excited about that. Will there be news about Elder Scrolls 6? I have no idea. We're probably getting another Skyrim on iPad or some shit. Skyrim on iPod? Skyrim for Android. I don't know. Something like that. If Bethesda sales are poor enough this year, we'll get Elder Scrolls 6 news. Yeah. Tony says I'm convinced it will announce switch to UE5 next year. Yeah. Got to play Wanted Dead. It's definitely not for everyone. Hodgepodge of many different features. It's kind of funny. Okay, I'll take a look at it and check it out. Let's see. Did I have any other news before we dive into that? No, I don't think so. I will say that while I've often encouraged people to not buy collector's editions of games or pre-orders and stuff like that unless it's a good collector's edition. This one behind me here, the Titanfall 2 one, is a great example. Unless you get something really cool like this, it's probably not worth it. If it's like digital goods, like a digital art book, I wouldn't spend the extra money on it. It's not worth it. However, I do regret not buying the Death Stranding collector's edition for the first one because I want the fetus in a bottle thing. That's very cool, and I would love that. I have a couple pairs of the sunglasses they did collabs with Jean-Francois Ray, and they're very high quality. No regrets about buying those glasses. Those are kind of like my daily, sunglasses I wear. I've got the JF Ray Sams, so you can get they kind of look like Ray-Bans, but they're just like a classic style sunglasses, and I've got two pairs of those, and then I have the Dead Man Guillermo del Toro's glasses as well. They're a little nicer and fancy. Let's see. Adder says would be a hugely beneficial move for them to go to UE. I had an offer to move over to the ES or SF team from Arcane, but the tech was enough to dissuade me. And Lope. Yeah, dude, Lope. I was interviewing with those guys too. This is years ago, but yeah. Relocation mandatory Lope. And I was like,
in what, Maryland, I guess? Right?
That was no, Arcane's in Austin, but I did the same thing. That was Obsidian and Bethesda. So yeah, I interviewed with all of those guys. ZeniMax pays like shit. Yeah, I know a few people that work for ZeniMax and have for a long time. I remember one of them was like, "Hey man, you should come work with us," and I was like, "If they can't pay me this amount, I'm not going to do it." And they were like, "Oh," and it was like half of what I was already getting. So I was like, "No, I'm not doing that." Procedurally sealing strut system. It is. This whole scene project thing that Tony's been working on is procedurally generated. He's been working on this for a couple weeks.
This is procedurally generated, and like the lights work with the control console up here.
Yeah, I guess Adder, my anecdote is about 2020 and around that time when there was like no one was really sure if remote work was going to be a thing, and so that's how I ended up working for Topgolf and working on another golf game. And then went over to Free Range because they were mostly remote anyway. For what it's worth, Fractal Grove is always going to be remote. We've talked about a bunch of different things about when and how we would want an office, and I don't think that's something that we really want to do. At least not in these stages. It's not. I think it's weird. There's a lot of talent all over the world, really skilled people that can make video games. So forcing someone to move from their country of origin or somewhere they're happy isn't really what we want to do. We want people to. We want people who are excited about the projects that we're working on, and we want to build a very strong, solid core team. And, if you're excited about working on one project, but you hear about what we're going to work on next, and you're not feeling it, totally cool. Like, we should, maybe step away from each other at that point, or if there's a pitch for a new project, whatever. We want to stay really flexible and work with people who are excited to work with us on the things we're working on. Yes, exactly. ZeniMax canned most people who were working remote. Yep. I was talking with Bethesda, and I got to final round of interviews with leadership team, and they were like, "So when can you move to Bethesda?" And I was like, "Well, I've told you guys throughout all the stages of this interview that I won't relocate, and remote is very important to me because I just moved back to Colorado." And they were like, a guy in the room goes, "Oh, well, I guess we're done here." And I heard a bunch of people stand up, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then they literally just left the room. They left the room, and the person who I was, who coordinated this all was like very apologetic. They were like, "I'm really sorry, man. I didn't know it was going to go that way. I thought there was some flexibility." I was like, "It sounds like there wasn't any, and maybe you weren't honest with me or them about what this position was." So, all right. That was for a lead designer position too. So,
kind of sounds like when I tried to talk to Free Range.
Yeah, exactly.
They were just like, "Oh yeah, all that stuff we said to Vince. No, that wasn't true."
Yeah, that was really weird. That sucked. Arcane also was one of two teams in ZeniMax that allowed actual work from home. Now both of the studios are gone. Yeah. Yep. Hasbro. Yes, dude. Yep. That shit happens all the time because they want the best candidates to come through, and then they try to be like, "We got this power dynamic control." Like, what's the fucking point, man? You don't really need me there. If you need me there, fly me out. It's gonna be easier. Like, fly me out for a little bit. We can have in-person meetings. I don't know that it changes a whole hell of a lot. I've worked remote for a very long time. I've done a bunch of jobs that don't require you to be in person, and especially with like making video games, you don't really need to be there. You just don't. And I get that as a manager, you always want to feel like, I'm going to allow that. Don't worry about it. You always feel like you're going to catch someone not doing their job. I don't give a shit about that. I don't think that it's good for an employee-employer relationship to be predicated on someone's time and how it's being spent. The most important piece is the deliverables. Did you make the thing that you said you were going to make? Did you do the thing you were going to do that we needed you to do? If you did, perfect, we're fine. I don't care how you spend your time. If you didn't, that's problematic and we need to talk about it. And, you know, if that can't be rectified in like 1 or 2 tries, then we probably need to split up, you know? I think that's just way better than going in this whole like, well, you know, we got to have people, you know, butts in chairs, like doing the stuff. Otherwise, we're never going to do it. Nah, just don't, you know, be more careful about who you're hiring. I think that's the important part. Candidate has a major stopper, but this is the perfect candidate. Hoping the candidate will bend over backwards to take the role. Exactly, dude. That power dynamic is crazy. And I'm sure that I've limited my opportunities in my career by not playing those games, but I've also had really good opportunities because people are like, wow, you're different. You know, I like the way you are, you know, communicating. You're very straightforward and honest, and, you know, expectations are clear. And that has moved me through even higher up in interview processes than if I had just been another guy, right? Like saying the thing and being like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever you want. Yeah, that's great. Nah. If you got to be if they got to be over your shoulder, you don't trust them to do the fucking job and made a poor hiring choice. Exactly, turning cop. Exactly. I think this was kind of a lesson that I got when I was in college from one of my favorite professors, but he was basically like, all of our brains, every human brain is lazy. And that's not to say that every person is lazy and people are shitty. It's just a fact of life, and pretending that we're not lazy is a little crazy. The goal of instruction is to teach you to break through those habits and to force yourself to not be lazy, so that you can do other things and achieve more and push your skills and all that. So if you think about it in that way and apply those principles to a middle manager doesn't want to do interviews. They don't want to hire new people. They want to just harass someone about their time and how they spend it, so that they can more easily be like, this guy didn't do his job, you know? And for whatever reason, that seems easier, that conflict back and forth, instead of being like, okay, my people are good, we're running the team, we're making shit, I can focus on other things. That seems better. I don't want people to be in a position of just managing people. And it's always a red flag for me when someone goes, I really want to be a people manager. I'm like, why? Like, you want to just like flex a power dynamic for your whole career? I don't get that. Adder says, I know my hourly yearly, but I also know that I ship games at a top level. If that yearly is too much for them, then that's on them. Yes, dude. Yes. Strongly agree with that. I don't know. I've found that, like, even when I was working, you know, at Bungie on really big, important things, and, you know, there was a lot of stress and all that, I didn't put that on the people I was working with. I would just be like, hey, man, like, we need this. And if you can't do it in this time, it's okay. Just let me know. And I don't want you to crunch. I don't want you to go crazy. Like, just be honest with me and tell me what's up. And that made a much better relationship happen between you know, leadership and reports and like people who create deliverables. It was just better. It was chill. Everyone was having a good time and everyone was having fun. And like, we make video games at the end of the day. This is supposed to be a fun job. I don't see any reason to shoehorn in like corporate middle management culture. It's dumb. Those that desire power likely don't deserve it. Very true, turning cog. Middle managers continually need to justify their existence. Tech leads are the ones I respect the most. Exactly, Simple Sins. Exactly. Hey, what's up, Darkest Levity? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, no worries, bro. Thank you for lurking. I hope you enjoy the show. Adder Crunch Week. Small team, big game deadline this year. Yeah. I think that's the reality of crunch, is that when you have deadlines because deals are signed, that's when crunch needs to happen. if you don't have a deadline, you don't have deals signed, it doesn't mean you should just, fuck around. You should make progress, and you got to continue to make progress, and you got to work on things. But the way making games works is if you kill yourself early by just working, 14 hours a week, you're going to hate the job. You will hate the job. Everybody burns out. It takes about 3 years of making games, of doing that before you're like, I don't enjoy this. And you're often way too far down the road in burnout before you even realize you're burning out. And then you just become kind of salty and like you don't want to do things. You become like not cooperative with other teammates. It's tough. On the flip side, when everyone's crunching and you're all putting in 12-hour days and you're all there and you're talking, you get this like, we're in the shit together kind of feeling. And you become stronger as like, colleagues and coworkers and team members. So it's cool, man. I think there's going to be, Adder, I know it's going to be very tough for you. And I know that you've been here before, so it's nothing, necessarily new. But I kind of like, there's something I really love about that part of Crunch, of being like in the shit with the boys, and I mean, or girls, like it's totally fine. There's very few women that make video games. But yeah, in they're your boys too at this point, right? Like everyone's just fighting the same fight in the trench, and that's cool. That really bonds people. This is game number 15. Yeah, dude. In this economy, you need to steamroll the market. Dude, I'm rooting for you. I'm very excited to see what you've been working on, man. I know that you've had some tough projects somewhat recently, and I think you're a very cool dude. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you get a win, man. Yeah, there you go, turning cog. Yo, Jinx, you need a win, brother. And I'm very excited for it. I'm rooting for you. So I hope you get your win, and I hope you guys make something really fucking awesome. You don't have to make compromises. You can ship the vision you've got in mind, and it's going to be a killer game. So yeah, I'm really rooting for you guys. Yeah, don't even worry about it. I'm not going to press you for timelines. Please, when you do get stuff to share, like, let us know. We'd be happy to be some of the first people to know. We will celebrate it. We'll shout you out, all that stuff. Really appreciate it. So Tony, do you want to talk about what you're doing, and then we can like, whenever you're feeling it's appropriate, we can switch over to Death Stranding trailer?
Yes. Hold on.
Oh, Brightside's here. Sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
Yo. I've been trying to figure out a way to make this stuff like not so I don't have to necessarily like program every single light sequence, and I can kind of set it like to be BPM reactive and kind of have like just 8 or 16 bar sequences or something like that. And so that's a little complicated because this is very much designed to be controlled from like a DMX system, so kind of externally to the lights, kind of plugged into Unreal. I don't really want to deal with all that though. I want it to all happen in Unreal. So one thing that they do give you in this control console is called an oscillator, and it effectively is just a blueprint that controls what the output of the slider ends up being. And I've been kind of experimenting with different ways to control it, and right now I've got this thing set up called an engine subsystem. And the reason I had to use an engine subsystem is because that's a thing that lives as long as the engine is open, either in the editor or in packaged. And so that kind of gives me like a BPM value that I can hook into even when the game isn't running, because a lot of the time you can control all this DMX stuff without the play button actually being hit, which is nice. And so I kind of have this basic system now. You can see I have this kind of set to the BPM of the music that's playing. It seems to line up pretty well. I've got a lit here so it looks a little better. And the idea will kind of be that I'm going to start being able to feed intensities into these things and set them up in groupings. And one of the things I'm trying to figure out right now is how to kind of take like a set of 5 of them and offset each one a little more so that I can do things in like a chain and things like that. So all kind of coming together, and then I'm hoping to just make it so I can kind of point it at the music and just let it do its thing and look cool. And be mildly reactive, and then maybe set up like a MIDI controller or something longer term and stream interactions and all that cool stuff. So turning cog. I was learning DMX interface and Blackmagic before lockdown started. Not going back to theater killed that learning for me. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I thought this was really cool, because I've always been super interested in kind of like this lighting production design, and especially like the lasers and stuff. And I've very much considered just buying one to fuck around with in my basement before. But with Unreal, in theory, I think you really could do all of the stuff that we talk about, where you could build a simulation of an actual show. A lot of these pictures in here are kind of simulated real versions of the pictures that have all of the same properties and stuff, and you could really go pretty deep on your design and your practice and knowledge and stuff without really ever leaving your computer, which is very cool.
I really like the laser action going on there. You got some fractal type shit going on.
Yep, so I'm just trying to figure out a good way to kind of manage all of this stuff. But I think with these oscillators, if I open this back up here real quick, all this is doing right now is just kind of just taking the time and doing some math to it to kind of create a frequency based on the BPM. And that's really all that we're doing in order for it to, like, I have it in a sine wave pattern right now. I can also make it like different patterns and stuff, but the idea will just be to kind of be able to feed values into here where all of this can just kind of be controlled by setting intensities and frequencies and stuff like that. So definitely getting a lot closer now. The hard part really is just that these two lights now are kind of the only ones that don't use actual real volumetric lights and are performant, and so I've been trying to figure out ways to like mix and match these to make them look interesting. They've been turning out pretty cool, but like one of the things I did that is going to make this very upset, but I want to turn on and show you guys, is in these trusses that have the lights on them. I built these LED bar things. Turn this on here. Hopefully that should appear. Yeah, so like that. And in actual drum sheds, they have these, and there's maybe like 100 across. But these meshes going over the top of each other here with these light beams are making the game very unhappy, even with a small number. So you're gonna have to figure out a different solution for that. But I'm trying to figure out stuff like that. But yeah. So you want to put the trailer up now?
Yeah, man, go for it. So sorry, Brightside, I know you watched this last night because I was harassing you about it or whatever. I hope you enjoyed it. The Death Stranding 2 trailer is what we're gonna watch because it's fucking brilliant. In addition to that, the release date is going to be in June, which is very cool. Very, very, very cool. Omni, so we're gonna finish Ninja Gaiden this week, and then next week we'll hop onto something else. So if you want to see some VR stuff, I'm pretty sure that was Tony's plan. He wants to do some VR things.
Yep, it's either gonna be Boneworks or Jet Island, or maybe VR Skater, or maybe
VR Skater.
Yeah, maybe like Jet Island and VR Skater together or something like that. But yeah. And I really want to encourage, especially Vince, but also Omni or anybody else who has a headset, if you guys want to come play Jet Island with us, I would argue that if you're going to play it, you should play it with me. It's one of my favorite games ever. I'll show you a good time. So.
Oh, he's going to show us a good time, chat.
Yep.
No, I'm down, dude.
We can high five at like 300 miles per hour. It'll be great.
Just like in Hyperskate.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll talk a lot about, how all of it ties into Hyperskate and, what we're going to do differently and all sorts of stuff. So I think it'll be interesting. All right, so I think we should be good to go here. Let me just turn the music down.
Omni, I think we want to stay away from 'cause it's but when it's good, we can get Tarkov back on stream.
Make sure this is coming through. It's not coming through. Hold on.
I'm hearing it. I think.
Didn't look like it. No, hold on.
No, it's not working anymore. I heard the Sony noise. But yeah, it's not doing it now.
Not sending it. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it.
You, sir, are an unrepentant criminal.
Trailer's so
Guilty
good.
of illegally entering our country on multiple occasions.
The only thing that I'm guilty of is doing your dirty work.
And by way of compensation, we have overlooked your crimes.
Bring it on, because I'm not doing this shit anymore.
What makes you think you have a choice?
What kind of cargo?
Cargo like pregnant women.
No one would possibly allow that.
That's why I have to smuggle them in. They make me bring them over from Mexico.
This thing between us. It was a mistake.
No. No, it was not a mistake. It was not a mistake.
Norman Toddler.
This landscape is so insane. Oh my gosh.
Who needs 21 speakers?
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Made leather seats. Who doesn't?
Handmade leather seats. Let's go.
Use a different browser so that you don't hear Vince and we get ads.
Uh-oh.
The red armor is so fucking cool. Oh my gosh.
Stream error for me. I'm refreshing. Are you guys good?
Okay, on my side.
To all the roads that we are yet to pave, the dreams that stillness entertains and slays. Now if my love for you won't make you stay, I don't know what will.
Adder, you'd probably know, but the first game was a lot of Quixel mega scans, right? I remember that being like kind of a new thing when they had made Death Stranding.
If the only path you take's the one you're told, so walk away.
I think you're right on that, Tony.
I couldn't protect you.
That's a good point, Tony. We should have you do some Death Stranding on stream.
I tried to jump us out of there.
So this is like all in
I
engine
could only
Omni
take my
to some
equipment
extent,
with me,
probably.
and I couldn't possibly think of Lou like that. There was no way for the two of us to escape together. The best I could hope for was to jump Lou out. Just Lou.
All the walls that we are meant to break, the part of us that still remains untamed. We must be more than animals in chains. It's a poison that kills. Would you let the wind tell you where to go? If you can brave fate and prove it wrong, so walk away, I'll find you. So far away, I'll lead you to the wilder, 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 yeah.
I love that George Miller is a face scan, but he's played by a different actor.
To all the mountains, all the rivers, to all the strays, the trailblazers, to what it takes to walk forever, to what it takes to be who we to the wilder, to the wilder, to the wilder, yeah.
I've been alone this whole time.
You're wrong. Death can tear us apart. We'll always be connected. We will always be with you, no matter what. You will never, ever be alone.
This time, I'll make a
Bro, that
lasting
scene hits me right in the
connection with
feels.
the lady in red. The perfect ending humanity deserves.
For the sake of the future, we
I
must
didn't
all
see
come
that tentacle
together
thing the first time around.
as
That
a
was weird.
barrier to the bad.
He got the
and
squids,
gateways
bro.
to good. All hands, brace for launch.
Also, fuck that puppet. I'm fucking with that puppet.
I love this ocean server farm thing. It's sick. It's not that hot of a take, Nox. It's very hit or miss for people.
Yeah, you missed my talk about it. I'll go over it again after the
Dave
trailer.
Evans just cast the deciding vote to set up cuts threatening health care for
Bro,
nearly
YouTube
80 million
needs to fuck
Americans.
off.
Cutting
Oh my
Medicaid
God.
and making
No,
healthcare
Gabe
remote-
Evans, get out of here!
We can't get through one video without 2 ads? Are you kidding me? 2 ads at once. Okay, nice. Yeah, I normally would not have ads, but I didn't want you guys to have to hear Vince, so. Oh yeah, I do. As much as I don't want to. So Kojima has famously said that he wants this guy to play Solid Snake in a movie, and everybody is very excited because there's an obvious Metal Gear Solid reference here. Very much looks like Snake.
A world divided, made whole. With a few sticks for encouragement. The UCA
Also the return of Soldier,
United States of America,
but not
had a
played by
prominent
Mads
gun
Mikkelsen.
culture. A distinctly American philosophy,
fucking shot,
and one
man.
which would appear to have spread to this continent. The more we seek to unite the people with metaphorical ropes, the more essential sticks seem to become.
DHB Magellan. Integrate! Everyone, hold on tight.
Yo, what's up, Velvet? Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Glad to see you in chat, brother. Man, that shit is so hype. That is
I wish this came in the box instead of this.
just a huge plastic gun.
Yeah, like the size of your Whisper, but just
Yeah.
this cool ass gun. That'd be great.
I would pick that thing up and show you guys, but last time I did that, we got instantly bopped on YouTube by the their
Killed our
algorithm.
stream while it was live.
It was like, nope, you touched a fake gun. You can't do that. Just popping in to say, hey, show some love. Gearing up for today's stream. We have out of towner traveling in, which is cool. Hell yeah, Velvet. What time do you go live? How do you get strikes on YouTube when the Second Amendment boys can show pistols all day long? So there are very specific rules, and I think it's because I was talking about the operation of it, which is because they clarified in the notification from YouTube.
It's live streaming specifically.
Yep.
That YouTube has like literally an AI that will watch every frame of your video, and if it sees a gun on a live stream specifically, it just instantly kills it, no question.
Yeah, it wasn't a strike Omni. It just killed the stream. YouTube just shut us off and was like, you can't do this. We were
If
like,
I had to guess, it's got to be a system in place to try to prevent people from live streaming gun violence, which I guess makes sense. But they have just kind of said like hard line, we're just turning that on and we're going to leave it. So exactly.
Yeah, the exception on YouTube is if you create an edited video that you post and it's not a live stream, then you can kind of do it within certain constraints. You can't talk about
be automatically demonetized, so you will not make any money from ads. You will have to make money from other sources.
Yep, 100% true. The cool thing about that is that you don't get ads even without YouTube Premium, but you know, obviously there's big downsides for the content creator.
Yep.
5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, sweet. That's awesome. So anyone in chat, if you're unfamiliar with Velvet, I know Brightside is familiar because Velvet's like one of the homies that hangs out in Brightside's stream. Velvet does music production and like live streams of music. Very cool stuff. Really cool to have Velvet hanging out. I met Velvet through Brightside's Thursday Beat Challenge. Velvet makes some very cool stuff. So if you want to drop them a follow and see what they got going on and check out their music, definitely. Yeah, here, let's do the actual shout out thing. How the fuck do we do that? / shout out?
Yep.
Velvet. There you go. So yeah, go check them out. Drop them a follow, see what they got going on. Especially if you're into like music creation and music live streams and stuff. Velvet, what Tony's working on here is a procedurally generated. Yo, thank you, LFQ, for gifting the sub. Velvet, you can drop some emotes now. Yes, I do mean the beat off, Striva. But it's BEET, like the vegetable, the tuber. Do you want the follow on stream or now at Velvet? I think whatever you do is totally cool. Simple Sins. Yeah, Brightside's got a really cool stream too. You should go check him out. Here, we'll shout out Brightside too. Brightside is a... Hang on. Brightside is a game developer. Oh my God. Twitch, why are you stopping me from shouting out Brightside? I have to wait 60 seconds before I can shout out Brightside, but Brightside's very cool. Found us during the game dev streams. Yeah, Slice and Dice is his new game that he's working on. I'm pretty sure he's a solo dev, which is really cool. But Brightside is more well known for like music stuff and is kind of breaking into the game dev space. He's got another game called Silent Sonata that's really cool. You should go check that out as well. And Wishlist is pizza game Slice and Dice on Steam. I think he dropped a demo for Next Fest. Oh my God, 15 seconds. That was too soon. Okay, we'll give it like another 10 seconds, and then the shout out is coming. I got Red Bull in me, so time is not moving in a linear fashion. There we go. All right. But yeah, really cool people, very cool creatives. We love these guys hanging out with us. It's not necessarily always video game development, but I just like watching creative people do creative things, and seeing you guys make really cool shit is really, it's mind blowing to me. Music is not something I take to naturally. Tony knows, you guys may not know, but math is a very difficult thing for me. It's really weird. Numbers don't totally make sense to me. It's just one of those things, you know. Some people like take to math really well, and some people don't. And for me, I have the kind of brain where math is weird. So music is also weird. I enjoy listening to it, but it's mostly inscrutable to me. Like I took music composition classes at school and all kinds of stuff, trying to understand more of it, and it just doesn't click. But I love listening to it, and I love enjoying it. And exactly, I mean, music is math. Yes, I'm fully aware of that, and that's probably why it doesn't make sense to me. Grabbing some bean juice, yeah, bro. Oh, Velvet. Sorry, that's what I was going to say. So Tony's been working on a procedurally generated Unreal level that, like, everything in the scene that he's showing is procedurally generated, and he was inspired by drum sheds. So that's what he's going for. Also, Velvet, Tony is FG Wallfacer, whom I am sure you saw in the Beat Challenge the last 2 weeks. He made a couple tracks. It was cool.
Trying to get back into it. Yep.
Dude, you made like the fucking Dracula, you know, the Vamp Castle shit was so good, dude. Everybody loved it. Acid Hex asks you, Tony, what's the best EDM show you've been to?
I went to a 2-day Pretty Lights Festival in Telluride, Colorado in 2015. That is definitely up there. There's, you know, a good handful. I went and saw Eric Prydz in LA at the Palladium when he was doing his Epic 4.0 show. And if you haven't seen that, he makes like a hologram using like projectors and screens and stuff around him while he's DJing. That was definitely a very cool one.
We saw John Summit about 1.5 years ago at Red Rocks. That was sick.
I went to one called Laser City. That was it was in Denver. And that one is definitely up there with one of the cooler ones that I've ever seen. But that's just because that one has like, it's called Laser City. It's exactly what you would expect. Here's just like me clicking to a random point in the set video or something, but just like, it's like 50 lasers. So 100% of the time the show is just like this going crazy. It's very, very cool.
Man.
Yeah. And so I'm going to this again here in like a month and a half or something like that. And he said it's the last one that he's doing for a while. So I'm very excited. But I get to see Eric Prydz in Denver this Friday. Definitely one of my favorite DJs ever. And he hasn't come to Colorado since like 2012 or something like that, and then going to Laser City about a month after that, and then another Pretty Lights Festival this summer too. So concerts are coming back. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, Tony's got some. Tony's been to a lot of EDM shows. I'm not a big
I've
live
probably been
show
to
guy.
like 1,000 concerts over the years, so
I'm not a big live show guy, so it's like it's weird for me because I enjoy live shows for about like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, I kind of wish I was back at home. But that's just me. That's just how I work. John Summit was phenomenal. It was so good. We were when the show started and we got there, the sun was kind of setting and like the rain was rolling in. And then as soon as Jonald Summer started his set, the lasers started going in the fucking rain, dude. It was so sick. It was awesome. Yeah, LFQ, I feel that. I like my chair at home too. Yeah.
Yep.
Velvet, you're in Canada, right? I think Velvet's Canadian.
Okay. This is kind of what we're trying to do with the PCG stuff here. You can see we have a lot of the elements happening now. We have the moving headlights on the trusses. We do have the big screen. I've had it turned off a lot of the time. I've been showing it to you guys today, but we got the pillars kind of in the right spots. I was showing you what I was trying to do for these like LED bar things that they're doing in here. Here's a good shot. We got the pillars, we got the big screen, trusses and lights. We need to do some more lights on the pillars now, and then there's some light stuff up front. So that's some more stuff that I'm trying to get figured out, but here's kind of what the LED bars could look like if I can get them figured out. They do have to kind of cast that beam down though. That's why I was trying to do them the way I did. Yeah. So just trying to get that figured out. And then I've only been able to find one show that use lasers and drum sheds so far, which is this Green Velvet show. And they use a lot of fucking lasers.
Green Velvet opened for John Summit, right? Yeah.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah, dude. I liked Green Velvet. Green Velvet was fucking sick.
Yeah, so this is like the best like laser reference I've been able to find for drum sheds, and pretty sick though. So
Simple Sins asks if you're using a plugin, and I think it's the DMX thing, right?
Yeah, this is all built into Unreal right now for the most part. It's just the DMX plugin. There's a couple other DMX like add-on plugins that I have enabled too, like the control console. But those are all just, they come with the engine. You just enable them in the plugins menu, and then Niagara for the crowd. All of the fixtures come from a sample project that you can get in Fab and the Epic Games Launcher called the DMX Previs sample, I believe. I just exported all of those out of there. And the screen thing, which I should turn on here while I'm thinking about it, is something that we made for Hyperscape that I ported over.
Simple Sins was asking about the PCG stuff. Is that a plugin? I'll let you answer, Tony.
The PCG is just the PCG system in Unreal, and I have it spawning blueprints in a lot of cases, and it's kind of PCG blueprint spawning a PCG blueprint. Like for example, this is what spawns the trusses with the lights on them. All of this stuff over here is kind of what spawns this is the walls and the floor and the ceiling. This is the pillars. Here's the screen right here. Here's the stage. Here's the lasers. This was a light test that I don't use anymore, but yeah. So again, like these rooms that I'm showing you, I broke the old one somehow. The PCG just kind of stopped working, but it was as simple as just kind of start a new level, throw all the pieces down, set the settings right, and good to go.
Yeah, Tony's been living in PCG land for Hyperskate stuff that we need for probably like a year now, right?
Off and on, yeah, because we did like the zombies thing, that was PCG. We did that's kind of the main one that we did, but we were working on some other, I kind of, as I've been learning PCG, I realized I've been building my own weird hack together PCG for a while, because I've kind of built a similar system to this in a blueprint for the spline tool that we use in Hyperscape, for the thing that makes the coin pusher and the coin pusher thing, and just a bunch of other different stuff, just kind of like making meshes with math. And this just makes my life much easier when I can do it this way, which is cool.
Velvet, if you ever make it down to Colorado, hit us up. The people are PCG. I think that's an important piece as well. Like
People,
literally everything.
No,
in
the
here is
people are
PCG,
a
right?
particle system.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. That was the other thing. So all of these people are static meshes, which is also interesting. These are not skeletal meshes with anims. They are vertex offset static meshes instead. And if I show like what these material instances look like, I think you can see they like are very weird. Wait for the shaders to compile, maybe.
Oh, I just saw Knox was saying that was the third time he's seen the Death Stranding trailer. Yeah, I think that was the 5th time I've watched it, and it came out yesterday. So I'm with you on that, bro. It's so good. It's lots of deep cuts from the first game. Nice,
yeah,
Tony.
This is what these vertex anims look like, you know, just applied to a sphere or a box or something. Here's a cylinder. But yeah, it's just moving around the vertices with the material offsets to make the appearance that the animation is running, but that allows me to make these particles and spawn like a billion of them and it not be too mad. When we were doing the zombies, it was like, I don't know, 30 zombies and it started chugging pretty hard. So these obviously have some downsides. I can't really like give them too much logic or control them or anything, but it definitely is a good look for what we're trying to do. If they're like weirdly glowing right now, I don't understand why.
I like it, man. Glowing people is good.
Maybe since Adder's here, he can help me figure out why.
He just went AFK. He has to lurk.
So I have this problem right now in here. Like this is the original one where if I go to the PCG, like normally I'm able to hit cleanup and it deletes everything and then I can regenerate, but it's not doing that anymore. And if I hit regenerate, it makes a duplicate of everything. And then I try to move it into a new level and it doesn't come out exactly the same. There's like some weird stuff going on, but
he's still here. I
think
think
you didn't know if you knew like why that was happening or how to fix it. I do rely on that quite a bit just because sometimes it does weird stuff. And then if I put it into a new level and run it, it seems to work okay. Just in terms of that.
Yeah, he said
Usually
delete,
just
redo
delete
it.
the asset and try again. I find that it loses its asset references. So do I just delete, like manually delete the blueprint and everything and then just put a new one in, basically? I can try that. Copy those entire properties. Yes. Okay. We'll delete this.
He says he made a quick widget that would track assets spawned by PCG if they weren't in a PLA container or something.
Okay, so yeah, we deleted that, but like all the lasers are still here. So delete those. Column's gone. I think that's everything we care about. So then we'll put a new one in.
He thinks it's a PCG bug.
That sounds likely. 74, and then paste all properties. Okay, that might have fixed it. I'm scared, but I'm gonna hit the cleanup button now. Oh. Where'd the walls go? Oh man, it was so close. Let's see if we can get it back.
Unreal be like,
are you going to clean up? Yeah, so and then it immediately breaks. Very interesting. I probably have something wrong in my PCG graph that's causing this. I'm here looking for the details on the backside of mechanical drum brakes from the 1920s because I know players will see it when they flip their card. Hey, I mean, that attention to detail people appreciate, so.
Yes, they do. That shit matters. No worries, Simple Sins. Thanks for hanging out.
theory is that it's this. Let's just disable that for now. And then clean up. Man, that's so annoying. Okay, so do it again.
Turning Cog, to your point, I very strongly think you're on the right track of caring about that detail. It really matters. Yeah, no worries, Velvet. I'll check it out.
Yeah, like if you're watching Sons of Anarchy and they start calling the magazines of an AK-47 a clip, like, just kind of takes you out a little bit. I've been ranting about that to Vince for a while, sorry.
Yes, I agree. The details matter. People, I think, in common vernacular refer to it as immersion. But yeah, it's suspension of disbelief. Omni's watching SOA again right now.
Oh, Omni, we just started season 3. Yeah, I'd never seen it past season 2 before, but it's been so good. My dev rig is a 3080 with a Ryzen 9 3990 and 64 gigs of RAM. Not like amazing, but this is very optimized on purpose. This is all particle systems and PCG and everything to keep it light and performant that I can.
Exactly, Darkest Levity. I've talked about that a bunch, breaking suspension of disbelief. Since your game world is nothing exists arbitrarily, it's not nature, you need to be very purposeful with things that you put into the game, which means that oftentimes you need to make stuff that seems unimportant to you, but it cements the player's immersion, the suspension of disbelief in the game world. I've talked about how famously there was a creative director at Bungie that I was working with on one of the releases, and he was talking about world design and never having toilets in the space, because in Destiny, while yes, humanity would have like toilets or beds and stuff like that, that's not what the game is about. So putting them in doesn't make any sense in a game where you're like collecting guns and shooting aliens. So I thought it was a really good takeaway. I know that there were environment artists that were grumpy about it because they were like, this is less realistic, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, well, the game's not realistic and it doesn't really fit with the vision. The VIPs are working now?
Yeah, so if you send a chat message, you'll make a person appear in the VIP section here with your name color.
Nice, let's go, Alex.
We'll do cooler stuff with this later, but this is kind of the basis of the idea for sure.
Hell yeah, mine's the green one, LFQ's the white one, purple is Tony, Turning Cog says butts. Darkest Levity says, and then you have games that put toilets you can flush in arbitrarily for no actual gameplay effect. Yeah, exactly. And depending on the game, if you do that, the player goes, this is weird. This is a toilet I can flush, and it has nothing to do with the game. And you're immediately thinking about how you're playing the game and not.
And you got to be thinking about Chekhov's gun in all situations. I've realized it applies to every situation when you're making things. But like, if you put a toilet that can flush in your game and there's no reason for it, people go into stuff like this assuming that everything has a purpose and a reason, and you'll actually start to create like, I don't know, confusion and just like a bad time in players if you like kind of point towards something maybe having a purpose and then it doesn't actually. And then I'm sure we've all done it. Like you go online and you Google like, what does this thing mean in this game? And then a bunch of people on a forum are like, it doesn't matter, just keep going. It's pointless. And you're just like, oh, well, that was a waste of my time. Thanks.
So Omni, to your point, I would say in a way, that creates a better sense of immersion, but it also, so it's a catch-22 situation. You need those objects to appear as though they natively exist in the game world, as if nature has, like, you know, this weapon crate is here, and having them not all be interactable has the player continuing to stay in the mode of investigating every little box and checking things out. When you make it so that every single one is easily identifiable as like a gameplay object or a lootable or something like that, then players start metagaming in their heads about, like, there's no loot containers here. They stop looking at the environment. They stop being like, I'm in this fictional Russia place. So I feel you, but what you're talking about is a player perspective where you want the game to be less tense. You want less tension, less choice, you know, things like that, because it makes your brain. I was talking about how your brain, you know, everyone's brains is lazy, and one of the things that you need to do is work on making your brain not lazy, and that's where we get, you know, the satisfaction of discovery. So as a psychological mechanism, it's really powerful and it's important. So it's tricky. I get what you're saying from a player perspective. You're not wrong. But from a subtle psychological perspective, it would make the game worse. LFQ says, just have a toilet that can flush items no matter the size, and have a mission where you need to get rid of a certain item. You're making me think of, I was watching Northern Lion play Repo, and you're a bunch of robots. It's kind of like Lethal Company, and you're picking up different objects and running from monsters and putting them in a cart and extracting them. There are toilets in that game, and the funniest part is that you can open the lid of the toilet. So every time they're in the shop, they open the lid of the toilet in the bathroom and put a grenade in it and shut the lid, and then like the lid blows off the toilet, and like the, you know, the walls for the bathroom stall like blow apart, and it's very funny. So in that case, that works because it sticks in theme with the game. You're robots, so you're not in the mode of like, I'm a human and I need to use this toilet. It's not, that's not how it works. So it's tricky. It's a fine line. It's not an exact science, and a lot of making a good game is a feel and a strong vision from the creative leads. Darkest Levity says, I always assume an Easter egg when I find mechanics like a flushing toilet, like a hidden achievement or something. I spend too much time before realizing it serves no purpose. Exactly. That's the breaking of immersion that we're talking about. Simpleson's ass LFQ like trying to flush your stash. Yes, exactly. For me, if there's a thing of toothpaste on the floor and I try to interact with it, it's just a floor map image, it actually breaks immersion. Yes, that's what I was trying to say, Omni. It does both. But when you get used to the fact that you recognize it's not a lootable, it roots the lootable objects in the game universe. So you will have a couple immersion breaking moments that lead to bigger immersion later. It's weird, but it works well, I think. Omni says, I love that in Abiotic there are toilets, you have to use them, and when you do, you have to play a mini game to speed up the waste elimination process, as if you're messing with your phone or magazine on the can. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a good use of them. Tony says, and Zomboid toilets are just drinking water sources. Yep.
Proud of you for saying magazine instead of clip. I'm going to be right back.
Let's see. Levity agrees. Actually helped immersion since it's a survival game. Yes, it totally did. I think the toilets in the minigame were a perfect addition. That's a great example of it being done right. If the toilets were just there, you suddenly go like, what is toilet? And then you do the thing that Levity was talking about, where you try to find the use for it. So it's very important to think about your intention with everything you place in your game. Brightside, I hope you're listening. Not that I've seen anything in Slice and Dice that would stand out as like, why did you put this in here? But just more, I know you're a newer game dev, You don't necessarily have a lot of the design experience that, you know, is afforded by working in a AAA on a massive product that like needs commercial success. So you may not have interacted with people who can talk about these things. So I hope that you find it useful. And, you know, if you already knew that shit, my bad. I'm not trying to, you know, mansplain or anything. Having to manage your bowel movements was a novel survival mechanic, actually. Yeah, it definitely was. Because so one of the interesting knock-on effects is if you do that, you create a holy shit LFQ. Bro, you are a madman. Thank you so much for the 50 gifted. Dude, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, bro. Wow. Yo, let's get some trees in chat for LFQ. I can't post trees on my personal because Brightside has my Prime sub. But yeah, if you got the trees, thanks to the generous gifted from LFQ, throw some trees in chat for LFQ. Let's celebrate the OG. Thank you so much, bro. Yeah, it's the what is this emote called? Fracta 42 logo. we picked arbitrary names. We're terrible at doing the Twitch stream management stuff. I'm very excited for when Tony gets back and tell him what happened. Yo, what's up, Mailbox New? Thank you. It's my birthday, so there you go. Bro, you're not supposed to give other people gifts on your birthday, but we appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. That is wild. LFQ, you know, out here helping fund the studio. In case any of you guys are wondering like what we do with this, the whole point of the stream is to fund the studio. We started doing this because we were seeking funding in the first year of operations. I spent about 8 months talking to people, different publishers. Tony, you missed it. LFQ just dropped 50 gifted.
Bro.
Yeah. Dude,
Chill.
insane. It's because it's his birthday. He gave us 50
Oh,
subs.
happy fucking birthday, man.
Yeah, thank you,
God
LFQ. Thank you so much.
You're the one who's supposed to get gifts, dude, not us.
Jinx, bro. I literally
That's
just said
crazy.
that.
You guys are crazy. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's so cool. 52. Yeah, he gifted
LFQ
2
sheds
earlier.
over
Oh.
here. Telling you.
So LFQ, we need to immortalize LFQ in our games. We need to put you in there. So think about what you want, and we'll get you in there. We're already doing it for Shoot It and Analyrith. Shoot It is Artificial Sky. But yeah, anything, you know, let us know what you want. And, you know, if it's as simple as like just a credit for being a supporter, you're in there. Everybody in our stream who's a follower and whatnot is going to get credited in our game. So thank you guys so much. So yeah, this goes to support the studio. This isn't like beer money. This is, you know, paying someone who can create 3D assets for us because Tony and I are not great at that. You know, art stuff that we need, licenses, cloud server hosting, all those things. Yeah, it's I like what Brightside was doing. Brightside's got like posters and stuff inside the pizza shop that are references to his community. Oh, which reminded me, Tony, Brightside was talking about, you know, maybe we give him something that he can throw in the pizza shop. So I was saying, you know, maybe a Hyperskate branded can of, you know, Galaxy Gas or something like that. Whatever fits in theme with his game would be cool.
I was thinking that the snowboard that we have that has the
Oh yeah, dude,
would
yes.
work really good. Yeah.
Brightside, we can send you the snowboard. We have a Hyperskate branded snowboard that we can give you, and you can throw that anywhere you want in your game if that fits for you. Yeah, you're welcome, Mailbox New. That's thanks LFQ for that. You were literally just typing about the snowboard? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really easy for us. We had the I've said that we've had, you know, probably about 6 to 10 people come in to help us like work on Hyperskate and our different projects. Some of the things that we got were from, I want to say there were like 4 different artists that have come through and dropped some assets for us. Which is really cool. They're all going to be credited. Very good stuff. But yeah, we've got a Hyperskate branded snowboard that we can put in. Yeah, dude. We legit have the board. Yep, it's already modeled and textured and everything, so we can just send you the asset.
Probably got a picture of it here. Let me see.
Random chance for a cloud formation that spells out LFQ? Bet, dude. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you want, you let us know. obviously as long as it's not like gross or weird and it makes us look terrible, yeah, we'll put it in there for you, bro. We were thinking about this is funny to us because I've known Artificial Sky for a long time, but there's an area of the map in Hyperscape that's kind of like a low wetland, and we were thinking about making Artificial Sky like an NPC over there, kind of like Shrek in his swamp, which would be really cool. So yeah, we could do something like that. Anna hasn't really given us anything that she's like super into. I think she's just, as I'm thinking about it, we haven't seen Anna in a couple weeks, and that makes me sad. I hope Anna's out there doing well, and we'd love to see her at least just pop in and say hello. Anna's been
has always definitely been more like, I don't know, there being like a hard to find place that,
yeah,
if found, has some reference we've come up with you guys, or your names or something like that, and we obviously you would know where it is, and if you had the game you'd be able to probably find it fairly easily, but just something that other people could stumble upon, and always like Easter eggs like that. I think that's cool.
So Velvet, what we were talking about in Hyperskate, here, let me drop a link for you so you can go check out what I'm actually talking about. We've got a trailer for Hyperskate up on that page. It should be at the top. So you're basically like hoverboarding around a natural landscape and a bespoke terrain park in certain areas of the game in VR, in multiplayer with your homies. One of the things that we talked about was a mechanic to give the player sort of a speed boost, or like a degrading speed boost over time. So like say your max speed is like 100 miles per hour. Maybe with the speed boost, you can do 300 miles per hour. And that helps you get, more height, more speed. You can access different areas with it. So how would you recharge that? And we were talking about, and Tony built a prototype for it, like a rainbow vape cloud. So imagine, because you are...
Here's the boards while you're talking.
Yeah. There you go. Which one of those do you want, Brightside?
I'd definitely vote this one, but I just need to put a Fractal Grove logo on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're talking about the middle one? Yeah, I think the middle one's probably the good spot if you want that. But yeah. So imagine that you're skating along, and so one of the things that we talked about, like Tony and I used to smoke cigarettes way back in the day. I don't advocate for that. Don't become a nicotine user. But when we boarded and we spent a lot of time on the slopes, like that's kind of a part of the culture, like I would stop at the top of a run before I dropped into a terrain park or something and smoke a cig, or like afterwards. So it kind of ties in there with like recharging the machinery that you have with like a cyborg vape type of a deal. So that this but not this. I'm speaking metaphorically for the most part, not literally. So we'll figure out what the right application is, but imagine that you're refueling your board, and that's the whole point. You're not ingesting illicit substances or anything like that. We're not advocating for like drug or substance use by any means. That was nice and clean, and it's got the logo on it real visible. All right, sweet. Brightside likes that. So yeah, that was one of the things we were talking about, was using that mechanic. Nice. I'm glad you like it. So Velvet, that was all captured in engine with placeholder art. That art was stuff given to us by community members and people who want to make some things. So that's really cool, and that's something that we're still seeking. So with the wonderful generosity from people like LFQ, we're going to be able to pay someone to make some art for us, and that's huge. That'll help a ton. Velvet, if you have a Quest or an Index and you've got the ability to play PC VR, and you want to check out Hyperskate, let us know. We can drop you a code. It's on Steam. We have it in the developer status right now, so we'd have to like whitelist you and get you a code. We've had a few community members play already. I want to say like 5 or 6, but we don't really know what the cap is yet for multiplayer. I think the most we've had was 5, something like that at once. Either way,
I think Unreal lets you do like, I don't know if there is a limit, honestly, but yeah, we haven't broken it yet. So But yeah, and while we're talking about it, I want to throw it back out there because I know there's some other people in here that weren't here earlier. But I want to do group Jet Island VR game in the coming weeks, probably on like a Thursday afternoon. So if you have a VR headset and you would like to play through Jet Island with myself and Vince and any community members who join us, we're going to do that. It is one of my favorite VR games of all time, and if you haven't played it already, I will give everybody a good tour of it and kind of show the things that I like, and we should be able to probably beat the entire game in kind of like one sitting. So that would be a really good time. So just get that in your brain. It is a pretty fast-paced game, and I know one of the people on here I was talking to recently about how they get really bad VR sickness. So that could be a blocker for some people, but one of the things that the Jet Island dev and a lot of people have always said is the movement doesn't tend to make people too sick just because of the way that it is, and Hyperskate is kind of the same way. So worth giving it a shot.
Velvet, no worries. Bright side, so this visualization, I think we've talked to you a little bit about the Miracle Maker project, where imagine, and Velvet, this might be relevant to you too, imagine you're playing a show at a venue that you've never been to before. And to help out with tech rehearsal and stuff like that, we have no idea when this would release, but imagine that you would put on like your Quest and you could integrate with your DAW and say like, this is my track list. You integrate with industry standard lights and screens and stuff like that. And you could play your whole set in VR before you even go there, sort of like an at-home tech rehearsal, or you could build a show in the, an entire set. You could build your whole performance in VR. That's the goal for Miracle Maker. So while we've been mostly talking about Hyperskate because that's the closest thing to us releasing into the public, we do have several other projects and ideas that we've been working on. So that's how this would work. And of course, we're targeting Ableton for integration, with how we want to do it for the first round of stuff from Miracle Maker. And we're definitely, Miracle Maker is sort of a nod to Dom Dalla. Exactly, Velvet, yeah. So this, but also like Tony learning the PCG stuff is relevant to everything. PCG is pretty important. Since we're a small team, it acts as a force multiplier. I don't like using that term because I think it's, it's co-opted in a weird way. But force multiplier is something that like military special forces are referred to as, because it's a really small team that can be pretty surgical and hit objectives that support the larger scale of the military apparatus. So if you think about that in these terms, PCG, AI tools, things like that, and this is not to eschew an expert and a very skilled artist. That's not the point of it. It's to speed up our time from ideation to implementing a feature. So that's how we use it. I know that there's a lot of controversy in bigger studios with a lot of money not hiring people because they want to do AI art instead. Obviously, that's bad. That's not how we do it. All of our imagery and stuff in concept art started with AI art. And then we've got, a very talented artist that we've been working with in Ramblin' Rose. And Ramblin' has taken, turnaround for AI art concepts that we really like, and then made his own, sent them over to us, and then produces like 10 different images, graphic designs, whatever, 3D art based on those things. And it really helps us just hone in way faster on what we're trying to make. LFQ asks, Windows Movie Maker integration when? So I think in that vein, Hyperskate, we need a spectator system. So we're kind of talking about like different ways to do that. And Tony's been noodling on the tech for how to make that happen. We've got like a drone flyby camera, but we've been kind of talking about maybe following the Halo replay version of it, where you get a bunch of data points and then it replays the thing in engine. Tony thinks he can figure out a way to do that. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And I think from there, it might be pretty easy to be like export clip to video, and then you can do that kind of a thing. Or
what I'm actually really hoping to do too is to have that data placed onto Steam Cloud and Steam leaderboards, so that when you play Hyperskate, if you're doing track or whatever it ends up being, and you get a time, you can see your friends' times if they've played it, and you can maybe see like the global leaderboards or whatever and how you compare, and then you in theory should be able to pick one of those times, and then it pull the data down with the race points so that you can see the actual ghost. I've worked on this a little bit in the past. It's definitely kind of complicated, but that is kind of the idealized version that I would like to put together. And then from there, yeah, there's a lot of like photography and recording tools that we've talked about, just because we think that it's a very core thing to this game to be able to like show people cool stuff that you do, and yeah, like share it with people who maybe like aren't necessarily in VR with you at the time, if they want to watch, or maybe allow somebody on flat screen to like fly the drone around while you're skating so they can film you. And people have asked us if we could do like actual FPV drone controller integration. I know that that's a thing that you can do in Unreal, so possibilities are kind of endless just depending on where it goes.
I know that it's interesting when you guys catch us for stream, because we're trying to be entertaining, and we want to like find the fine line between heavy technical explanation and being entertaining, because a lot of the really deep tech stuff isn't necessarily always entertaining for people, but we're really glad that you guys like it. So we try to do both, and keep chatting and keep you guys a part of the community and all that, and make sure that we're doing the right thing. So feedback is always welcome. If you guys want to see more tech, less tech, any game you want us to play on Thursday. I know LFQ, you can't really make it all the time, but if you ever want to see a game, like, absolutely, please let us know, and then we can send you VODs, and we can clip a video or something like that, and just make sure that you can still watch that stuff, especially if you're requesting it. In the past, I played Tiny Glade for Anna. I played Ultra Kill for Artificial Sky, and it's not really like a let's play. What I tried to do, and I'm not very good at it, but I'm getting better, is discuss game design choices of the game I'm playing. What was the game I played for Photon? Superliminal.
Yep.
Was that it? Yeah.
Yep.
So I played Superliminal for Photon and talked about level design throughout that entire thing. So that's how we try to do it. Velvet, I feel exactly the same way catching these like music production streams that you guys do. I haven't seen yours. I've only seen your live set stuff, but I feel exactly the same way. It's absolutely fascinating. It's like watching someone make magic, So I think it's super fucking cool. And if you ever want to get into games or have questions about where to start, or even just build some shit in Unreal, because you don't have to make games in Unreal. You can make visualizations and movies and shorts and all kinds of stuff. Hit us up. I think you've already got the link tree, but I'll drop Discord. If you join our Discord, that's going to be the best way to keep in touch. Brightside's been in there and asked us a bunch of questions, for help on his projects, and we absolutely help out. That's very important to us. I also just realized Render Me Gone followed us about a minute ago. Thank you so much for the follow. I missed that. My apologies. Oh yeah, and we're thinking about UGC and what that means for the game. While we appreciate that sometimes UGC leads to very silly things that can be immersion breaking, like imagine you're playing Hyperskate as Goku on Nimbus. Like, that wouldn't make sense in Hyperskate's game universe for the Vision. It would be really fun for some players, but we want to think about what that line is and how to make it so that players can make their own stuff, like tracks and parks and really cool parts of the game. So I think UGC for us probably looks more like a track builder, or like the Hot Wheels Trackmania type of a thing, and you can build that kind of stuff. I
was actually looking at this thing on Fab. I'll show you guys. That is probably, I'm probably not going to buy it on Fab. I'll probably just build my own, but it was modular mesh system, I think.
It's still very cool to me, Velvet. So I appreciate any glimpse at making stuff. I love watching people make things. Mailbox News says, seems cool. I have tons of games on Steam and PS5. I have some good game choices. I think Unreal is awesome. Yeah. Mailbox New, that's absolutely, that offer is out for everyone. the big thing for us with this stream is while it funds the studio, the point of it is to help people make the things that they want to make. There's often, if not ubiquitously, an adversarial relationship between game devs and game players, and that shit needs to stop. And the only way it stops is by being friendly and helping people know how to make the things that we make, so that you don't get these weird ass hot takes, you know, from like dead game boring, lazy devs. We want to stop that shit and have, you know, people really understand. And yeah, so that's the direction we're going.
Bright side, what I want to probably, at least internally for now, build for Vince, if you've seen our existing spline tool, I think it needs to look more like what this does here, where it basically starts with like, you get a piece and then you add another piece onto it and you can adjust that piece, but then you can attach another piece to that. And if you curve it, it kind of uses a different one. I would approach this kind of slightly differently than this plugin does, like I was saying, but currently what the tool that we have, you basically just have to make a spline and then you have the ability to control the properties between each point, but it doesn't give us quite the control that we need. And so I need to take that system that I just explained, where you can control the properties along a spline, and each one of these sections is one of those splines that connect together, and then you have the ability to kind of make a smaller, more modular piece of what you need. And then I also want to bake all of this out into like a static mesh, as opposed to it being like a dynamic mesh, which it is right now because we're having some perf issues. But this is going to be one of the very technical things that I'm going to start trying to do here soon. So I would imagine there's some PCG involved in this. I don't know 100% that there is in this case, but a lot of the PCG that we're trying to do for Hyperskate is more just like environment.
The pillar of the principle is that a lot of video game development processes and pipelines are unique to making video games, and they're different studio by studio. So our eventual goal is to make it so that these tools are public, so that people can, you know, buy add-on packs or something like that we've published on the Unreal Store, and then you guys can go build stuff using our tool sets, whatever is best for you guys, because that's really the important part. I don't like the whole, it was very hard for me to break into the games industry, and I don't like the gatekeeping that exists. I think it's really fucking weird. I don't like the, again, I don't like the adversarial relationship. I think it's better if we are, you know, we're gamers just like you guys. We just took our fixation a little bit farther into let's go make our own games, and we've got, you know, good vision and stuff. So that is procedural, it seems. Looks like I'm looking to build. How many different models can it build?
You're talking about that modular plugin. We didn't build that. That was just something I saw on Reddit and thought was cool, and is definitely along the lines of what I've been talking about building ourselves. So it's only $10. So if that interests you guys, it definitely looks like it's pretty capable. Ours is going to need to do some more specific things, so I'm not going to end up using that one. But yeah, it seems like a great deal. I saw the person share it on Reddit a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, that's kind of exactly like what I'm trying to figure out. So if anything, I may buy it, because as you guys are very aware, I'm sure if you get something from Fab or from the marketplace or whatever, they can't really hide how it works. So like, you did give them money, but now you have their code, and you never really need to give it to them again, I guess, is one way to look at it. It's good to support the people and to pay them for their work and their ideas, but I always kind of look at the assets like that to some extent. Like you're buying the knowledge and the know-how and the step-by-step and the example, as opposed to, if you treat it like something you can just drop into your game, as I'm sure a lot of us know, a lot of the time that's probably just not going to work, or it's going to be very difficult, and it's not going to do exactly the way that you need it to. You need to just kind of take it as like, okay, this is going to show me all the pieces, and I need to put them together in my own way, the way that it needs to be.
I dropped the Discord link again. If you guys have questions or want to chat with us about game dev, the Discord is definitely the best place to do that. If you want to just share your stuff, like Velvet, if you want to share your music and things like that, like that's also a good venue for that. So
we have a self-promo channel, so
yeah,
go ahead and use that.
And we absolutely support that, as long as it aligns with, you know, our studio values, and it's not like super adult content, because we don't want to do that. We want to stay like PG-13. Render Me Gone, yo, first time chat, just checking out Hyperskate on Steam, would like to test it out. Yeah, so Render, the thing that we ask for is a sub to YouTube, a sub to Twitch, and being in the Discord. It makes it way easier for us to track who has keys, but we would very happily send you a key and play with you. So I've
been doing playtests recently, but we're trying to get back into them. So it was something for a while there that we're doing every week, and I imagine we'll get back into.
Yeah, thank you so much for the interest and for chatting and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Yeah, and so in the vein of what Tony was saying about how like you essentially have their code, we're not worried about that. We think our ideas and execution of ideas is the more important thing that only we can do, but we want to help people make things. It's really important. And like I said, you know, if you're like a game dev and you're having this conversation on Twitter with a random comment that pissed you off and you're like, you don't get it, man, you know, like we've seen a bunch of stuff like that in recent years where game devs are getting wild on Twitter and talking shit to people who just literally don't understand what it is they do. And instead of saying, well, here's how I do it, and here's why I think this, and here's why I have this take, they just pop off and talk shit and create this like very negative relationship. So we're taking a risk being out here. You know, I've done really big live streams for Bungie when I was there. 100,000 people on Twitch in a live stream, and I'm like chatting and whatnot, interacting with people. There's some really awful things that happen, but I think it's a part of the relationship management. And that, you know, speaking frankly, I don't think Bungie had the best relationship with the community. So one of the lessons I've always said and always tried to champion at every studio I've worked for is like, you can be out there, and instead of like paying a streamer to showcase your game and just say a bunch of bullshit about how great it is because it's a promotional segment, do your own stream, have your own people there talking about the thing that they're making, and that's the best way to do it. So we only stream 4 hours a week. We're actually coming up close to time here in about 10 minutes, but yeah, that's the whole point of this, is we want to keep you guys a part of this community and just build it, you know, grassroots from the ground up. I honestly have 2 more tracks coming out this month. So 3 of our tracks are video game remixes on the nostalgia front. Hell yes, dude. I love that. That's very cool. And I got your SoundCloud link in the DM, so I'm going to check that out off stream and see how it is. And yeah, I'm sure it's really cool, man. You make some great stuff. So yeah, you guys are awesome. And it's super cool just meeting all of you and seeing the things you make and chatting and yeah, sharing this process with you guys. And it's been really rewarding so far. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to, Velvet. And of course, like as we get to the point where we can pay for some tracks to be made, some music that we need in our games, we will absolutely be reaching out to a bunch of you guys that we've met, you know, on the internet. And, you know, I know Tony wants to make some music too. So it's not, you know, I'm not trying to be like, yeah, we're going to do all the things.
I've relearned how to make music from all these cool guys right now. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm really glad you popped in too, Velvet. Yeah, no worries. And, you know, hang out as long as you can, as long as you want to. It's, you know, no pressure. We love having you guys here. It really helps us. It energizes us and gives us more of the fuel we need to grind through this thing and make Hyperskate and put it out there. One of the other things, so we're honestly and very intentionally vague about a lot of the things in Hyperskate that are like big secrets and fun stuff for the video game, because we don't want to ruin it for players before they get in there. So we don't want to necessarily put it all up on stream. When the game comes out, we'll absolutely do like developer deep dive and talk about all the things we made, you know, give it like a month or 2 after the game's been out, and we'll talk about secrets and the, you know, the design vision and all those things. So that will happen for sure. We're trying not to do it before the game is out. Even though it could potentially be really good positive buzz, we don't want to do that beforehand. I've been in that position. Yeah, honestly, and that's very purposeful. Brightside drip feeding the Hyperskate info. I've been, you know, at Bungie, I made very big secret missions where like I work 6 months on something that's a complete secret. We drop it for free, and it's very successful. There was a lot of apprehension and skepticism about whether or not it was even worth going through that effort. because obfuscating things from people who data mine patches is costly. It's not free. You have to do things a different way that are less optimal for the business, but you're doing that so that at the end of the day, the player gets a better experience. And we are player experience first and foremost in everything we do. So I've always followed that, and it's never done me wrong. That's how I was able to make some really cool stuff like, this guy back here that you guys can't really see, but the Whisper sniper rifle. Yeah, no spoilers. I want to avoid that, and definitely doing it. So I'm being vague. I think Hyperscape's gonna be really cool. We've been describing it as like a Steep or Riders Republic multiplayer exploration game with some Metroidvania components. So imagine different areas of the map unlock as you explore, gain new abilities. Theming, I'm keeping very close to my chest. I don't want to talk about it because I think just those things are going to be really cool, and we're hoping for these big, like, people are like, holy shit, this is awesome. I never thought I could feel or experience something like this in a video game or in VR. So while I'm talking about it as like a sports game, it's going to be adjacent to that but different from it. Yeah. YouTube can see it as long as I don't talk about its operation or hold it, so it's fine. Yeah, you're welcome, Nox. Thank you for coming through. I always appreciate you being in YouTube and chatting over there. We don't get a lot of chatters on YouTube. We're over 730 subs right now on YouTube. We need to get to 1,000 in order to get monetization off of YouTube. We don't make any money off of it right now. It's only super chats, but it's fine. We'll get there eventually. Our biggest traction was with Destiny videos because I talked about my work on that. So we've got like a video that hit like 40,000 views or something, close to that, which was good. That was really good visibility for the studio. So, but we want to get away from the Destiny stuff. It's not what we do. Yeah. Destiny 1 for a long time. Yeah. So when I was there, Velvet, I worked on the launch of D2 on the open world team. I moved over to expansion releases and seasonal content, and I did the Whisper in 0 Hour for D2. Really big secret missions that we dropped as like a love letter to the community and thank people for playing, and to revitalize the sentiment that there are big secrets hidden in plain sight in Destiny. Because a lot of that was missing from D2. There was a bunch of that in D1, but it all kind of like fell off the map. And then, we took the big gamble of saying, let's make this free content with a big secret mission, and it worked. It was great. It was fantastic. Very beloved content in D2, and I'm very proud to have been able to work on those things. Tony's vibing with lasers, and this is very cool. Oh man, I need to clean my screen. It is filthy. Just noticed that. Dropped off shortly before D2 came out. Yeah, I get that. A lot of people did, and especially after D2 came out. The missions I'm talking about released with right before the third expansion, which was probably the best expansion for D2, the Forsaken. So yeah, that was the Whisper came out at the end of Warmind, right before Forsaken. And I did that off the back of Curse of Osiris, which was probably the most disliked expansion in Destiny history. So I made a cool quest there for Saint 14, and that kind of like cemented that character in canon for the game. Yeah, and then I went into the Whisper in 0 Hour and stuff. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I was the vision holder for those missions, so I was like the guy. I did work with other people for sure. It wasn't a solo effort, but it was mostly me and a couple of artists. And then in parts of the game where I needed to do complex systems integration. So Brightside, this is really interesting. A lot of AAA studios use in-house built tools. So what we used was Grognok, Bonobo, and something else. I mostly use Grognok and Bonobo. Bonobo was a tool for code references. So when you got like a gun or a piece of armor, or like an enemy dropped a quest component, all of those things were in the tag system in Bonobo. So we used that backend database system and that tool. And then the world building stuff was all done in the world editor called Grognok. So they were all, the crazy thing is that everything I learned and how all those tools worked was not really transferable to anything else. I started working in Unreal at Free Range Games for Return to Moria. And it made me realize like Unreal's very similar to Grognok. Grognok was like a less good UX, more quirky version of Unreal. It was, so the tools, legacy tools and stuff are really interesting at AAA studios. The engine that built Halo Reach was called Simian. I don't know why, but Bungie had a lot of like primate references in their tools. So, and then there's Grognok, which is like the name of an ogre or something. It's very weird. So, the Simian engine was left with Microsoft. They spun off a version of that engine, which became Tiger. And Tiger was the Destiny engine. And that's what Destiny and Destiny 2 were built off of. And I'm assuming most of Bungie's games now are continuing to be built off the Tiger engine. Yeah, the 50,000 views, it was 40,000, but yeah, it's up on YouTube. It's what's the title? It's like Game Dev Reflects on Time at Bungie or something like that. But yeah, it's
Memory Lane.
That was the live stream with Mikowski when we did the interview. Okay. It was basically like a react video. We were reacting to Bungie's announcement, and I was talking about every moment through there and like what I did. So that one's up on our YouTube as well. It should be under the video section. We don't have very many listed under videos. Under live is where you'll find all of our VODs, and there's probably like 130 videos in there because we have every live stream up. Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. That did good numbers. Most of our videos are on YouTube are like 1,000 or less. Some of them are like 100 or like 30. So any views we get on YouTube helps. It absolutely does. We simultaneously stream on both. Tony and I are in different physical locations. So while we are not professional streamers, we definitely have one of the more complicated stream setups from anyone you'll see on Twitch. Yeah, it's cool. So if you also want some like, how do I make my stream work and how do I do this thing, let us know. We're trying to figure out how to really make everything new and interesting for everybody. Not just consumers of our games, but people who hang out in the community. Yeah, we built a couple of arcade things that use channel points too. It's kind of similar to like with the work Tony did on that. That's why he's got the PCG VIP section working in the drum sheds visualization thingy. This project he's working on. Sorry, I want to know how to add my characters into my game and give them an extreme move list. How do you feel about tools in your editor, like Copilot, for example? I know Tony uses Claude a lot.
There's just nothing like that for Unreal right now, which is tough. But I'll usually use Cursor if I'm doing C++. And that's pretty annoying because you have to then go over to Visual Studio or Writer or something to compile it for you. But I do think that Cursor works a lot better than Copilot. So that's what I do usually.
Mailbox, if you want help on character controllers and the ability system and stuff like that, definitely hit us up in Discord. That's a more longer form conversation. We've made a couple videos on that and how those things work. And dude, this is sick. I like the scrolling trees, man. Yes, dude. Yes. Give them the trees, man. The people crave the trees. I like that Coffee Stream bot is in the VIP right now.
Yeah, I've set some stuff up on this material instance to let it like tile if I have something like this that I don't like the rainbow thing. It just stretches across the whole thing in loops, but this will tile as many times as I tell it to, and then I can tile it vertically too. I can control the speed. I can make it move like diagonally as well if I want to. I could take the X movement off entirely. Could have it, go fucking crazy. Just stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Mailbox says he loves the exact stuff that we're working on. So yeah, seriously, like if you're not in the Discord, come join it. That's the best way to keep in touch.
Yeah, hang out.
We only stream for 4 hours a week, so it's hard to catch us on stream. And so I've talked about this before. When we're on stream, we're putting on a show for you guys. So we think a lot about what we're going to do beforehand. We have talking points. We have things we want to do to fill the time. I'm a really good yapper, so I tend to just kind of talk. But yeah, so we're really focused on making the stream worth it when you guys are here catching us live. So it doesn't always translate well into like taking a break and walking you through a process or something like that. But we
I'm
also
always on Discord if you guys ever need anything.
Yes.
I'm so happy to help you. Yeah.
And he's FG Wallfacer on Discord. I'm Viper Zero. I'm more of an idea guy, creative guy that comes up with like vision and stuff like that. And Tony's definitely very strong in the tech side of things. That's our role as being founders of Fractal Grove. So yeah, he's a professional dark mode and all apps guy. Absolutely.
I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, if you need to figure out how to turn on dark mode, Tony's definitely helped Brightside do that. It's pretty good. It's fun stuff. We even helped a dude like fix his Twitch overlay or something like that. I don't know. We're all over the place, but yeah, any question, if we know how to help you with it, we will for sure. And yes, dark mode everything. It's I've got. Can you dark mode SoundCloud? Because I've got your SoundCloud up, and I think that's the thing that's kind of like blowing stuff out. No, it's the sun back here. Sun coming in through my window. Work PC's all dark mode? Yeah, dude. I shouldn't say we. I am a shut-in. Like I was saying, I go to shows, but sometimes, and I realized I've been to a lot of shows, and I don't necessarily always enjoy them after like the 20-minute mark. I like to stay inside, so let me be in my cave, and that's where I'm happiest. Speaking of which, we've talked about books a lot too, and I love reading, and the weather is warming up as we get into spring. So I'm really excited to get into one of my favorite things is about like 4 or 5 p.m. sitting on my porch and reading a book. So as it warms up, I'm going to get out there and start doing that again. SoundCloud on my phone is dark. Yeah, dude, I think my phone SoundCloud is dark, but I don't know how to get it in the browser dark, which is crazy. Yo, we got some subs. Hey, I'm sorry, I probably missed you guys in the hubbub. I think we've got some YouTube subs. Yeah, we got some new YouTube subs that came through. We've lost 1 or 2, but hey, it's balancing out. So really appreciate you guys helping us out with that as well. Yeah, I'm excited for Death Stranding 2. That's coming in June, late June. Let's see. Tomorrow I'm playing, trying to finish off Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. That's one of my favorite games. It recently re-released as a headless version of their engine that is being piped into Unreal to update all the visuals, which is really, really cool. So that's why we picked that to play, in addition to, me being like, this is one of my favorite games. So we're in the last probably 20% of the game at this point. And I'll probably be finishing that tomorrow. That's my goal. I want to get the game done. And I've been playing it on the hardest difficulty that you can select from a brand new save file. So there's a lot of
stream until the bright side beat off, and then
exactly
pop over there. So.
Exactly. And then when you're done watching me play Ninja Gaiden, go hang out with Brightside and watch some insanely talented people make some music. The way he does it is he goes, we've got 30 minutes to make this beat. Here's a couple samples. These are your restrictions. Here's your BPM and your time and stuff like that. Go for it. And then, everyone gets turned loose. And dude, last week you had like 20 submissions in every round. So it was really cool stuff. Tony made the what did you sample last week? It was MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, with his horrible lyricism. And he had this one lyric that's "Now I'm alone in a vamp castle," and Tony made this like Tony made this super sick like Dracula fucking, pipe organ type shit, and it was very cool. And a lot of the other guys made some really cool stuff over there. Oh yeah, can I do the beat off emotes? I think I can. Yes, dude. Here we go. Some beat offs in chat. Yeah, we allow beat off in chat. Specifically, referencing the bright side beat off. Used a previous beat off beat for submission in Feb. Nice, dude. Yes. I'm not gonna lie, Velvet. I want to say a couple weeks ago, some of you guys made some insane bangers that I put on my phone that I'm sure you guys were never fully intending to like release as full tracks or anything. And I definitely play some of that shit at the gym. I think it was Jeremy G made a track called Fuck, and it was like very hard metal guitar riffs into like some dubsteppy shit, and it was so fucking good, dude. So I've definitely like blasted that shit at the gym when I'm like going hard, and it's outstanding. I would love to get more of those. Send us both the link. It's the one with the mouth harp. Yes, dude. Please. Yeah, Brightside, dude. I will say Brightside is more of like a nighttime adult stream, but that's okay. Brightside is a great dude. He doesn't get too weird unless we're talking about DJ Sweaty Butt. I showed Tony that this morning before stream. He was laughing his ass off, dude. It was so funny. That man's was sweaty in those khakis. He did have some dance moves though. He was going hard. What was that? That was T-Cia? Yeah, it was T-Cia was the Brazilian DJ that Brightside was playing. Oh yeah, dude. No, absolutely. Yeah. You did get called out. That was really funny. Thank you, Velvet. Thank you. Cool. Tony, do you want to, wrap it up, get some final thoughts going, and we'll call it a stream?
Yeah, I was just trying to get my waveform thing working here, but that's kind of doing it. Okay, there we go.
Is it? Yeah, is it? Okay, so the top one's going. Is that my voice?
It's like, it has to be my full computer audio, because something I'm really trying to do is make it so I can pick the audio source, but that's more challenging than I thought it was going to be. So right now, full computer audio, but yep. But it is, analyzing the audio signal coming out of my PC and drawing a dynamic static mesh and doing all of this stuff on it entirely in C++.
See, Tony knows some shit, guys.
I like kind of just like me and Cursor vibe coded it, as people are calling it now, for like an entire weekend one time, and kind of got it going.
I mean, I think it's dope, dude. I think you definitely got it.
Oh no, it's very dope. I want to get it to a point where, like, if we're doing like the Brightside thing and with streaming or something, I can put this at the bottom of the screen or something like that as I'm playing music and stuff, because producers will do that sometimes, and I think it looks cool. So this is also something I want to put on the screen in the drum sheds. It wasn't working for a long time. I just got it working recently again, so that'll be another thing we do.
LFQ with the secret technology. SoundCloud states that web dark mode is coming soon. Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know if anybody knows, but I don't use Jira anymore. Does Jira have dark mode yet? That was always the one that like made me the most mad, because I'd have to look at it like 100 times a day when I worked at a company that used it.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. How long has that been posted as a thing they were saying, LFQ? That's probably like 15 years old. I mean, I don't even think SoundCloud is 15 years old. Jesus, guys, I'm old. When I start like indexing on like decades.
SoundCloud is definitely probably almost 20 years old, which depresses me. But yeah.
The wheel of time continues to turn, and we all slowly approach death.
I guess
find a date.
Come back tomorrow for video games and things.
Yeah, we'll be doing the Ninja Gaiden. I'll be chopping limbs off and all that. It'll be awesome. I think I was on INA, and I think there's like 3 missions after that. So we'll be wrapping it up tomorrow. I had a good rage moment last week where I got completely like cheesed out of beating a boss. So if you enjoy gamer rage, there's probably going to be some of that because the game is very
after
hard.
you killed the boss, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That was rough.
Brightside says, all right, squad, thanks for the stream again. Always love. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Thank you so much for coming through, everybody. Daylight savings, that's what? Yeah, sorry, dude. Yeah, we're on different times.
Everybody put like 100 trees in the chat and say happy birthday to LFQ. One more
Yes. Happy birthday, LFQ.
time. Let's shoot it, and Anna aren't here. I'm just going to tell you you're the new favorite. So
I'm
just
pretty
don't let
sure
them know.
he's
Yeah.
caught him, dude. He dropped 52 today.
Just don't let them know. But happy birthday. You're the new favorite.
Oh, no, I got panic baskets in there. We don't need panic baskets. Here we go. Don't put 100 trees in chat. You'll get banned. Yeah, that's too many emotes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Join the Discord. Wishlist Hyperskate on Steam. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Come back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Time.
Yes, we love you guys. Thank you so much.